before your respected court, and as a response to the eviction of the defendants and their defense attorneys in previous sessions of this court, with regards to the immunity of defendants and the legality and the retroactivation of the laws. Iraq has signed on almost all the international treaties with regard to the international crimes. And also that the international crimes is part of the international norm, which aspire to the imperative rule that is applied by the interior legal systems, regardless with putting those articles in national legal form. And that for the universal knowledge and what it includes of those crimes and the completion to this international organization to pursue the perpetrators of such crimes that touches the humanity general. Such set of crimes were excluded from the general code from the timeless validity of crimes or penalty according to Treaty of 1968, specialized with the timeless of crimes and war crimes and crimes against humanity. In addition to the prohibition of eviction or staying of immunity, whether this immunity is a penalty or a procedural immunity that would prevent from conducting trials to those perpetrators of the crimes. And here we would like to mention what was mentioned in the trials which were conducted during the trial of Nuremberg, where this eviction was one of the first evictions mentioned by the defendants of those crimes, and the response for it is only the try of those officials to contain the international laws by issuing and through issuance laws that provide them with immunity that is going to represent a clear-cut evidence, because those official people know their acts according to the international law. And I would like to talk about the Article 15 of the International Convention of Civil Affairs and Political Affairs that clarified that it's not prohibited to include the national codes about the international crimes, and Iraq signed those conventions as a part of this convention. Now, I would like to take the permission from the respected court to read our statement. My Lord says, with the grace that you gave me, I will not support the criminals. True, says the Lord God. Mr. Presiding Judge and respected associates, peace be upon you. The people have described their nights whenever they face difficult situations. They describe the night at that time as a very dark night. And this dark environment was suffered by the jail people because they have an appointment with those hard difficulties times. And their days were turned to nights. And they have the right, if they call their days as nights and very dark nights, because of what the face of oppression and injustice and bloody things And for this operation, this operation has beginnings, and it reached its peak whenever Saddam Hussein visited their city in July 8, 1982. And displacements and executions and destruction and other barbaric and cruel savage acts. And whenever he visited the city, and whenever he is returning from the highway, he was by the Al Ibrahimiyya city, and he faced fire shots coming from the orchard. It was alleged that this thing was assassination attempt, and after getting acquainted with the security documents, and which was planned for this incident at that time, and with statements of defendant Saddam Hussein and other defendants, and the statements of witnesses and complainants, and some of the defense witnesses, all a number of fire shots were shooted against him, and they don't exceed 8 to 15 bullets from a rifle or 2 rifles, Kalashnikov type, from one of the orchards that are facing the highway that was fenced, as the fence was about 2 meters high. And it was not proven the use of other weapons like heavy weapons and middle weapons, because the assassination attempt was against the president of the state. And if it was an attempt really to assassination, it has other rules and should have other supportive rules to support this act. And otherwise, then this attempt should be a suicide attempt. And if we assume that it was really assassination attempt, are the procedures conducted at that time legal and apply with the attempt described? And if we look deeply on the procedures conducted after this assassination attempt, then we can see that it's military widespread attack conducted by military and intelligence department and security department and police and popular army, and those are not applicable with that attempt mentioned. And the serial mentioned to the incident, saying that whenever such attempts should be conducted, so investigation should take place afterwards to search about the incident and the acts included in this, especially if it was against the president of the state. But what the incident had shown refers to the alternative thing, because the incident shows that the procedures that pursued after that incident were very high, and they were very cruel and harsh. As whenever defendant Saddam returned to Baghdad, he made a phone call to some of the officials in the security department, and he told them that he faced an assassination attempt while he was visiting the Dajjal city. And he asked them to meet with them in the building of the National Assembly at that day. And really, Defendant Taha Yasser Ramadan attended the meeting. He was the first deputy of the Prime Minister at that time, and Saddam ordered him to attend the meeting. And also, Father Barak, the director of the Special Security Department, and other person was director of the Intelligence Department office, and other officials attended the meeting. And it was mentioned by the defendant, Taha Yasser Ramadan, whenever he mentioned in a statement documented in February 9, 2005, in front of the investigation chamber formed by 2 or 3 judges, and with attendance of the prosecutor and the defense attorney of the defendant, he mentioned that Saddam called me, who was president of the state at that time, and he told me that he faced an assassination or attack in the Dujil city, and he asked me to go to meet the security officials, as he told me that he ordered them to be in the building of the National Assembly. And it's true. I went there and I found Father Barak, who was the director of the security department and who was executed after that for special reasons. And also I found another person, I don't remember his name. He told me that he's a representative of the director of the Mukhabarat Intelligence Department, and he told me that the director of Intelligence Department went to meet the president or the defendant Saddam Hussein. I don't remember, 2-3 people were there, and the orders were issued to me to listen to those officials, security officials are going to say, and to give my notes and to direct them to work and act. This is the statement of Taha Ramadan during investigation. And in that meeting, they studied the situation, and they agreed on a plan, a security and complete plan to solve the situation in El Dujil. And at that time, Defender Barzan conducted an interview with Saddam in Radwaniyah district, and the late assigned him to conduct operations in El Dujil. And whenever Defender Barzan reached El Dujil, he went to the headquarters of that party, and he chose that headquarters to conduct all the military operations from. And immediately, the Popular Army and the guards, the Republican guards and security and intelligence department sealed off the whole district of Al Dujil, and the helicopters started bombing the orchards randomly. And that led to murder and injuries of some of the Dujilis that were existing in the orchards. And in the next day, the Popular Army started transporting the bodies into the headquarters, bad headquarters in El Dujil, and they showed the bodies of the victims to the arrestees to identify them. And they found that those bodies returned to Karim Jafar, Abbas Jassim Mohammed Al-Hatsu, Muhammad Abd Jawad, Sadiq Abd Majid Hamid, هاشم عدنان جاسم الخزعلي، آيات حسن مهدي جعفر، محروس محمد هادي، ستار توفيق يحيى، رائد الكربلائي, and also the injured Hussein Hassan al-Dujaili. And before transporting the bodies of those victims to the headquarters of that party, there were another operation that was ahead of this operation, is to bring families, children, women, and old men into the headquarters after raiding their houses and searching them. And those families were brought to the headquarters and detained in the Ba'ath Party headquarters, and the number of those families increased, so the headquarters couldn't take all those number of people. And because of that, Barzan ordered Wadah Sheikh, the director of the Search and Interrogation Department in Intelligence Department, to transfer the detainees to the Interrogation and Search Department called Al-Hakimiyya in Baghdad. And at that time, also, Defendant Barzan ordered Wadah Sheikh, the Director of Interrogation Research Department in Intelligence Department, to see and search the orchards where the fire shots came from. And it was shown that those orchards are far from the highway in about 35 meters. and the orchard was the subject of the survey, surrounded with clay. The height of that fence is about 2 meters. And after the survey, it was found that the fire shots were shot by a rifle, Kalashnikov type, and from inside the orchard, where they found some fire cases, 12 to 15 fire cases there inside the orchard. And Wadah Sheikh, as he has a long experience in investigation, he found out that those fire shots were shot from inside the orchard. And because of the empty fire shots or bullets found in the orchard, as if they made the rifle be higher than the fence and shoot it against the convoy, they would find the empty cases of fire cases outside the orchard, because none of the cars of the convoys were injured. The cars were used in the convoy were injured. And also a report were raised to defendant Barzan, but yet the operation of arrests continued against families of the Dujil, and the number of arrestees were more than hundreds. And all that happened by an order of defendant Barzan Ibrahim al-Sikrisi, who stayed for 3 days in that city. And after that, he returned to Baghdad, and the Popular Army and Mukhabarat Intelligence Department and Security Department continued arresting other families and transferring those families to Al-Hakimiyya Research Interrogation Department in Baghdad. And defendant Barzan confirmed this incident and the disaster existed in the jail. And this was confirmed by defendant Abdullah Kazim al-Murid and defendant Mr. Abdullah Kazim and defendant Ali Dair Ali and Muhammad al-Zawi, after documenting their statements in front of the investigative judge. In addition to the statements of the complainants, in addition to the documents and evidences that support and was supported by the experienced people that worked in the forensics. And whenever those families reached Al-Hakimiyya Interrogation Department, they conducted investigation with them, and they faced ugly means of torture, and that led to death of 46 people, and their names were mentioned in the conviction and sentence order. And in addition to killing another number of people because of the harsh torture, and that was supported by the other number of people in the Mukhabarat Intelligence Decree number M7 on 560 in 1987, and it was mentioned in that decree that there is a committee formed by the directors of five departments in the Mukhabarat Intelligence Department, with the presidency of Saad Rabi and membership of Saleh Khalaf, director of the detention facility in the intelligence, and the director of administration department, and another person, investigator, and also Muhammad Abdessan, who was the security officer of the intelligence department. And in the paragraph 3 of this document, they are mentioning between two brackets, the orders was taken to refer 148 to refer them to revolutionary court, and they were sentenced by death sentence, and it was confirmed. This order was confirmed, and including those convicted people and whose death sentence were issued against, including 46 people, and those people who died during investigation. They closed the bracket, and this is a statement in the document itself. And after that, and as a completion to the arrest operation, they were transferred to Abu Ghraib prison, in al-Mukhabarat sector, intelligence sector, and they stayed there for more than 6 months, and they faced all different types of harsh torture, physical and psychological torture. And then intelligence department members transferred children, women, old men, and which are approximately 399 people into Leia Desert in Al-Musanna neighborhood near the borders between Saudi Arabia and Iraq. And then they stayed detained there in that desert till April 1986. According to letter of the Presidency of Mukhabarat Intelligence Department number 1158, and another letter 1147, and was referred to Security Department of Al-Musanna Governorate, and they detained 399 people. So, the people who stayed alive were referred to the Revolutionary Court according to the referral order number 67216 in 1984, May, signed by the defendant Saddam Hussein. And according to that, the Revolutionary Court that Awad al-Bandar was a presiding judge in it, this court issued an order called 944 in June 14, 1984, that orders to execute all the people referred to that court by hanging till death, and there are 148 persons. And what should take our attention, and we should be surprised of, that the Revolutionary Court, as they took the referral order, they issued that sentence, or this sentence against 148, they confiscated their properties, which was documented, and those names were documented in the document, and not all the defense attorneys attended the court to defend those victims. And after the issuance of the death sentence in 2 days, Defendant Saddam issued a presidential decree that has a number 778 in June 16, 1984, and this decree is saying to confirm and sign the execution order of 148 persons. And this sentence was conducted against the victims in March 23rd, 1985. According to the letter of the Rehabilitation Center of Adults in March 23rd in 1985. And according to the documents shown before the respected court here, and the statements of the complainants, it was found that the victims which were facing this sentence they weren't brought in front of the Revolutionary Court, including them, and some of those were already killed during the investigation, but their names were referred to the court, and another death sentence were issued against them. And this incident, a miserable incident, didn't finish till now, to this extent. But the department, with an order of the defendant Yasir Ramadan, to destroy the houses of the victims and looting the components of the housing and drain the orchards that they own, and let the people of that district live in poverty because they deprive them from the essential source for living. And this incident was confirmed by the complainant and some of the witnesses which came before your respective court, and they mentioned that Tahiyati Ramadan was standing on one of the hills at that district. It's called Al-Maskin Hill. And this incident was approved also by defendant Muhammad Azawi and defendant Mr. Abdullah Kadhim by their statements documented in front of the investigative judge. And the last one of those evidence was the phone call conducted between the defendant and the court. He listened to it, and it was this phone call between Saddam Hussein and defendant Tahiyati Ramadan. And the subject of this phone call was the draining of orchards of the jail. Presiding judge, respected associates, after this survey of the incidents to the acts conducted by the defendants, according to the assassination and shooting attempt from the orchard, which doesn't exceed, and the fire shoot doesn't exceed from 12 to 15 bullets, and according to this incident, the prosecution is asking and inquiring, if those procedures were legal procedures, and is the response is applying with that simple incident? And it's clear that the previous or the late operations were revenge operations, and they used the power that doesn't apply with them, but they use the oppression to respond to that simple incident. And a lot of people lost their lives after that incident, and the lands, agricultural lands also, and the stones. And your respected court know that each person that faced an assassination attempt, there should be an investigation about that incident. An investigation about that subject, and the investigation should be according to law. And if we look deeply into the procedures conducted after the assassination attempt, where we cannot describe it as procedures. We can describe it by military, or as military operations conducted by military, army, and intelligence departments, security departments, and popular army. And those procedures doesn't apply with the incident of the assassination described, which was described at the beginning of the statement. And the question is, what's the goal that was conducted by the children and the women and the old people, and what's the goal that the tree was conducted? Even the tree didn't get rid of the revenge of those defendants, because they drained the orchards as if the tree participated also in the assassination attempts. Respected judges, what I mentioned from incidents took place in El Dujil city clarifies to the court that those crimes were crimes against humanity, because it was conducted, included in a wide systematic spread attack, organized attack, according to orders from the authority which was governing at that time against some citizen people or civilian people. And those acts apply with the Article 12 of the Iraqi Higher Criminal Tribunal, number 10 of 2005. In all the paragraphs that I'm going to mention. A, murder. B, imprisonment and deprivation from physical freedom, and that is a violation to the rules of law. C, torture. C, coercive concealment of people, and in the guidance of Article 15 of the IHT statute, that means court statute. The legal requirements. The legal requirements and the elements of evidence are included in this case. As the things conducted in this crime is a widespread systematic attack, an organized attack, this against some civilian people, and that was proven by the violation and violence acts conducted by military forces and security, intelligence, and popular army that participated in all of those acts. And that would lead us to say that the attack was widespread, and also it was proven that the government and the officials were involved directly to commit those crimes, and that was shown by the documents shown before the respective courts. And if this attack, whether it was against civilian people, so it was proven to the court that the victims were all civilians, and the victims were targeted as a part of a widespread attack against them. This is from one side, and from another side, the defendants knew that their orders are included in the widespread attack against the civilian people and that city, and they knew that because of the systematic nature and the powerful of their acts against those civilians and victims, and because of the communication and context between them, and because of their existence in the crime scene, and that will lead us to say that the superior of the state, as was mentioned in the Article 15 of the IHT statute, the president is responsible for what the people who are under him are doing, if he knew what they are doing, or if he had reasons to know what they are doing, because they are committing those crimes with him as a superior. Those requirements and the elements to prove those requirements were provided in the crime in Article 12 in the paragraph 1, A, murder. And the murder is to commit murder, the perpetrator to commit murder, one person or more, and the proof elements for this is this certificate issued by the Department of the Adult Rehabilitation in Abu Ghraib prison. And also shooting. And it was proven that the helicopters have shot it randomly and shoot it against civilians inside the orchards randomly, and that led to death of some people and injury of another, like Jafar, Abbas Jassim, Muhammad Abi Jawad, Sadiq Majid, Tariq Hashim Adan, Ayat Hassan Mahdi, Mahrous Muhammad, Sata Tawfiq, Ra'ad Karbala'i, and Mustafa Hussein, and those are from the jail. And As we are talking about murder, then we should mention that there are 46 people. They were cleared and caught during the investigation, and other 4 people who were executed by mistake. Hassan Abdel Amir, Mahdi Abdel Amir, Salah Abdel Mahdi, and Salah Mahdi Abdel Amir. Those 4 people were executed by mistake. And the incidents have proven that some people were separated from the other because they wanted to kill them. They separated old men, women, and children by detaining them in a desert in Leah and killing the young man who can carry a weapon. And that was proven by documents which was shown before your respected court. The crimes of murder have been conducted after the meeting and planning, and that was what we referred to at the beginning of our statement. There was a meeting in the building of the National Assembly with the presidency of the Shah in Ramadan to put a plan and a kind of systematic plan against the Djailis. And those acts were conducted by an intention because the incidents were proven that all the acts were conducted in a widespread systematic attack or an organized attack. And paragraph H of firstly is imprisonment. All the elements of this crime are available, and it was shown before the court. As the element of crime, and because the official knew about that imprisonment, and it was included in this widespread systematic attack against civilians. And the evidence that there was detention or arrest operation is the detention facility in Leah in desert, and all the arrestees there or detainees there were civilians, and that their health situation weren't in a good situation, and a lot of them died while the detention period because of the desert environment and because of the bad health environment and bad living situation. And we would mention also that those civilians were arrested from Al-Dajjal city and also from outside Al-Dajjal city. As some people were arrested and they were brought from their military sectors and from another cities in Iraq just because they are Djailis. And the period of detention period had prolonged till 4 years. And during those 4 years, Judge, you want to want the prosecutor to replace you? Prosecutor, no, Your Honor, because we want to proceed, because those are historical events. Prosecutor, Judge, you may read the request later. Prosecutor, and those other detainees in Leah Desert, those were released after 4 years of detention by an order from Saddam Hussein, according to the National Assembly, in April 26, 1986, and they were brought back to their living areas, original living. And paragraph C, and it's talking about torture. All the elements are available in this crime. As the perpetrator of a crime to cause or harm or severe suffer to that person, whether this person was, whether this harm was psychological or physical, and this is what was proven by the complainants. As they were they faced an assault, physical assault, like putting them under electrical shock and hitting them and detaining them separately in a private cell for a long time, and to force the detainees to stand on their feet for long times, and also hanging the victims by their hands. And they forced the victims to take off their clothes, and that was accompanied with an intimidation, and by beating and by prolonging the time for them, and they didn't allow them to go have a shower, and they let them see the torture operations against their sons and their relatives. All these acts and other acts, and different acts of torture, which we mentioned in the elements of the crime, were conducted against the complainants during the period of their detention. And all of them were detained by the perpetrators of this crime and under their control. And paragraph D of Article 1 is the crime of coercive concealment of people, and all the elements of this crime are available, and they are: first of all, arresting a person or more persons. Second, not giving information about the fate of those persons or about the places where they are. Third, this detention is conducted by the support or by a confirmation from the state itself. Fourth, this principle is part of a widespread systematic attack, and those are the elements of the coercive concealment, and they are proven in front of your respective court. As those civilians were arrested and they were not giving information about their fate or about the places where they are going to be. And this is what was proven by documents and evidence showed before your court, and between two brackets that included, and this was mentioned in the documents we showed, a lot of the party departments and formal departments are requiring about the fate of the detainees in the jail case, and because of lack of information, either to know their situation or to inform their relatives or families. And the response to this inquiry was by Defendant Dam. His response was, those issues have a special nature, and it's not allowed to inform any department about it, with exception to some departments that are related to that issue. And that clarifies that there are crimes were conducted, and all the elements are available, and in each crime has a perpetrator. So, who are those who committed those crimes? The crimes which are under Article 12 of the IHT statute. First of all, defendant Abdullah Kadhim Ruwaid. The evidence against you: 1. The statement of the defendant himself before the investigative judge, as he confessed that he was existing in the crime scene. 2. The security report submitted by the defendant to the security department, and which was signed by himself, and he supported that report belongs to him, and it was supported by the evidence experienced members. They proved that it belongs to him. 3. The statements of the complainants before the investigative judge. And they are? I would not like the names to be and those defendants mentioned that those defendants gave the information to the security department so they will be detained with their families. Second, defendant Mizhar Abdullah Kadhim Rayed. The evidence against him: his statement documented before the investigative judge and his confession by accompanying the vehicles and the vehicles that ordered or drained the orchards in El Djil city. 2. Statements of the complainant documented before investigative judge and before your respected court. With the attendance of the defendant, they said that the defendant accompanied the security squad to arrest them and detain their families. And 3. Defendant Ali Dair Ali. Evidence that are available against you: 1. His statement before an investigative judge, as he confessed those acts by himself, and he said that he was in the crime scene and he accompanied Ahmed al-Samarra'i, the official of the PAC party headquarters, to arrest one of 2. Statements of the complainant in front of an investigative judge, and they mentioned that the defendant accompanied the official of headquarters to arrest their families. 3. The security report submitted by him to the official department, and it was proven that he signed that document by the criminal investigator expert. 4. Defendant Muhammad Azawi Ali al-Marsumi. And evidence against him: 1. His statements documented in front of an investigative judge, where he mentioned that he went out with a squad, security squad in El Djil, according to an order from the security department of El Djil, to go to his aunt's house to arrest her, in order to arrest him, and they didn't find them in their house. 2. Statements of some of the complainants that are mentioning that the defendant participated with the security squad to detain him. 5. Defendant Barzan Ibrahim Tikriti. He worked as the president of intelligence department since 1979 till 1983. And one of his duties is to protect defendant Saddam Hussein, who was the president of the state at that time. In 1982, July 8th, defendant Saddam ordered defendant Barzan to go to the jail to conduct a research about or investigation about the incident. Evidence against the defendant are: 1. His statement documented before an investigative judge in 25th January 2005. As he mentioned in his statement, between 2 brackets, he asked me to go to require about the reasons of the incident and to conduct investigation in the area to know the people who are suspected. And that was one of my duties, because at that time I was an official person and responsible for the protection of the president. And whenever I went there, I found military forces, and they were from the Republican Guards and forces from the security department and police and some Ba'ath Party militias. At that time, the military forces were conducting and sealing off the area, and I saw them by myself. And each side of them has their commander with them. And I was at that time, at that area, as I'm the president of intelligence department and also as a responsible person for the protection of the president at that time, and this is what he mentioned in the investigation. And also in his statement, in another part of his statement in front of an investigative judge, what is going to come between two brackets. After I knew about the details of that issue, I ordered to seal off the orchard, which was sealed off by the military forces, as the helicopters flied over the city, and there were clashes and firing between the people who were hiding or where his statement before an investigative judge that the people who were arrested with my attendance and with my order, according to my order, were referred to Hakimiyat al-Mukhabarat, is this interrogations research department in intelligence, and the investigation were conducted with them, and there were only 3 or 4 people, not more than that. 2. His confession, Barzan's confession, before the court and before the investigative judge, that he went to the jail city in the headquarters for 2 days. 3. What was mentioned in the separate statements of witness Wadah al-Sheikh, as defendant Barzan was the responsible and the commander of the operations in the jail area. 4. Some of the complainants before an investigative judge and before the court that Barzan was supervising by himself the investigation in a Mukhabarat building. 5. The documents and the correspondence letters between intelligence department and the president TD1 or council, which are A. Letters issued by intelligence department to defendant Saddam Hussein, asking him to give bonuses to some of the members of intelligence because they had great roles to search and arrest some of the Dajjalis, according to the order 1120 in July 1982, which was confirmed, and that the signature belongs to Barzan according to the evidence experts. B. The report raised by defendant Barzan to defendant Saddam in July 13, 1982, which includes the procedures against the Dajjalis. C. The 2 memos, which numbers 5,600 and 23rd September 1982, and number 6,2000 in October 1982, and were issued from the Search and Interrogation Department, and it was shown by the evidence expert that the signature on those two memos belongs to Barzan. See what has come in the statement of defendant Al-Wad Hamid al-Bender before an investigative judge in February 9th in 2005. As he mentioned, the investigation, it was in the intelligence department. E. What was mentioned in the referral order raised by defendant Saddam Hussein, and which was mentioning, according to the reasons in this of this investigative case number 40 on 984, the intelligence. F. The report of the committee formed with the presidency of Hussein Kamel raising to Saddam, and which was mentioning in paragraph 5 of that letter, of that report, the committee conducted the following. The committee had been acquainted with all the points of the Djil, which belongs to Al-Mukhabarat department. And that clarifies, in this report, is clarifying all the details mentioned in Al-Djil. J. A letter issued by Intelligence Department to the Presidency Council, number 1282, in 31st of, and this letter is clarifying in paragraph 3 that Al-Mukhabarat Intelligence Department is responsible for investigation with the Djailis, and which was mentioning between two brackets, the convicted people were conducting against them the procedures, as some of them died during investigation. K. A memorandum from Intelligence Department addressed to Department M7, and it's signed by a committee of 4 members and a president of the committee, and they all belong and work in the Mukhabarat Intelligence Department, and they are clarifying in paragraph 3 the following. In the convicted people which faced 10 death sentences, they were including 46 people who were cleared or died during investigation. And also, he's clarifying in this letter, in the other paragraph, about what happened to the Djailis in detail. J. The conviction sentence from Mukhabarat Department and was raising to the official in the Intelligence Department, Hikmat Abdul Wahab, because he didn't implement the execution order against 2, Jassim Rida al-Hattu and another person, which names were mentioned in the presidential decree in the 2nd page, and what it's mentioning is the following. According to lack of time, and because of the rest of the general total number is 96 just people, that's a result of the clearing or killing some of them during investigation. 6. Taha Yassin Ramadan.
what come in his statement in 9 of February 2005 in front of the investigation judge, and this is what he has said. The defendant Saddam Hussein called me, who was occupied the position of the president of the state at that time, and he told me that he has faced an assassination attempt against his life, and he asked me to go and meet with the other security department officials, and he told me that he's already ordered them to be at the building, and I did go, and I saw Father al-Barrak, who was the head of the security department, who has been executed for another reason, and I also find someone else who I don't know his name now. He told me, that person told me that the head of the security department and two other persons went to the place, and my duty is to listen to what the official will say, and the security department officials will say, and write down my notes, and to give them some advices if it's necessary, if there is a necessary. 2. What has been mentioned in his testimony in front of the investigation judge in 25 of January 2005, and this is what it is. Yes, I have information about that, and this information is that there was a committee has been held on by the orders of Saddam, who was the president of the state at that time, and this committee was by the president of that committee was the Farzan, defendant Farzan, and also it includes the security department head and the representative of our department also, who was occupying the manager of my office at that time. 3. What has come in the testimonies of the complainants and other witnesses, that the Popular Army members have participated in the arrest process and the surrounding the city with the assistance of the army and the mukhabarat, and the defendant confessed frankly that some of the Popular Army members did participate in these processes, and because the defendant is the chief of that Popular Army, so he is responsible of what the Popular Army done from crimes. 4. The record, the voice record between him and Saddam Hussein, which the court has been listened to. 5. The documents given to the court in 22 of November 2005, and another document 115, and the letter which been written by his hand and by his signature in 1984, which been sent to Ahmed Hussein Khdair, the presidential T1 president, and all the signatures have been confirmed in front of this court. 7. The defendant Awad Hamad al-Bandar, the head of the Revolutionary Court. The available evidence. 1. His confessed that he was the presiding judge of the Revolutionary Court, which has issued an order against 148 persons. The convicting order number 499 in 1984, Three, the official documents and the results of the committees has been held concerning the jail, which has been shown in front of this court, which proved that that court was a fake or imaginary court, and no defendant was attending in its sessions. And that was being obviously cleared through the committee of Hussein Kamel and Ali Dawood, who represent the legal department, and Ibrahim Jawad, who represents the special security department in 1987, which says exactly we take the testimony of these two persons and other detainees, and with the same case the whole trial takes place with the other defendants in this case, and all the orders issued against them from the Revolutionary Court was by hanging till death. It was only on the paper of the case without the attendance of the accusers themselves. And this was through documents we showed to the court earlier. And also it is being confirmed persons who were their name were being listed in the decision of the execution, and they at the same time they were in Leia Desert as detainees. So the same committee says also their subject, the two-person subject, again in details. And this is also a text was being shown in a document we showed to the court in the earlier session. And those two persons were being detained in Leia, in Musanna, and the second, in too many lists like the second one, for example, and from those who have been detained, some of them were being sent to Leia, and those who we were talking about, the two persons, because those two were being trialed fakely or imaginarily with other detainees. Ensure who came to this court and he said that he wasn't he didn't come in front of the Revolutionary Court decision of the court, which was being there's no mention for the details or the evidence against the defendant, and also there is nothing about the lawyers, and also it didn't say anything about the bill of defense from any lawyer. And this is an event and a proof that no one did attend that course at all. an imaginary court, and the defendants didn't attend it really, but the order has been issued only on papers. 8. The defendant Saddam Hussein al-Majid. He was the president of the state and the commander-in-chief of the army force. The evidence available against him. 1. The voice record and the CD, which has been shown in front of this court, which has shown Saddam talking to the jailers in the day of event, and the CD shows that those who shoot the fires were 2 or 3, and at maximum they are 10. 2. What has been mentioned in his testimony in front of the investigation judge in June 2005, which says, my convoy I was in was being shot at, and I think that was from 2 rifles, but I'm not very sure because it was a long time ago. And he also says in his testimony, I also want to add that as far as I know, no one gets hurt or injured in that incident. 3. After he came back to Baghdad from the jail, he issued orders to the responsible persons or official persons in the department state to have a meeting in the National Assembly building, and Taha Ramadan was there to put a plan to attack the jail. 4. Issue an order to Barzan Ibrahim to supervise the operation in the jail. 5. The documents, the official documents, which prove that he knew and his orders about the jail murders or crimes. And this we will clarify very well, and we will clarify these documents now. First, 1. The report raised from Barzan, defendant Barzan, in 13th of July 1983. 2. The decision of the RCC in 1982. In 1982, which promotes, by according to it, some of members of Mukhabarat, they were participate in the jail case. 3. The decision of the revolutionary RCC in 23 of January 1985 about transfer the ownership of some orchards. 4. The report provided from the committee headed by Barzan Hussein Kamel, which has been signed and by him and confirmed. 5. The memo issued from the legal department in the presidential diwan in 28th of July 1987 about the execution of 4 persons by mistake concerning the jail case, and to arrest those who make this mistake. 6. The memo issued from the legal department in the Presidential Diwan in 4 of April 1987 about not carrying out the execution issued against 2 persons because they were in Laya Desert. 7. The confirming order of the execution decision according to the presidential order in 16 of June 1980. 4. 8. They record the voice, the CD, which has been shown in front of this court, which showed that the defendant interrogated and will not carry about their situation. 9. His confess in front of this court that he is the one who is responsible for the investigation. So he said, if I order that no one will follow up the accusers, no one will. He issued an order to compensate those who own a drained orchard, and we know already that this draining didn't take place because of the plan to improve the area, but to revenge from the Dugelians. And I want to remind the court what he said. He said exactly, the drain took place because there was an attempt against me. So that is was against the national interest. So we ask the court to listen, that we are not saying something without any basis. This is what the defendant said in this court, and we want you to listen to it. He is the president, and he can say no one will follow the attackers.
Let them fire at the president.
كان بإمكانه أن لا يصاب مثل ما فعل مع 2 منهم.
He can do that as he done with 2 persons when he knew that these persons wasn't executed.
Somebody else was with them. The coincidence is not more merciful than us. Either excuse them and release them with all detainees. The orchards which you are worried about is not significant to indulge Iraqi law in it. Orchards, 5 orchards in any area. Any area in any place. Can the state take ownership of that? Is that a to be unhappy with me, but if it involves the implication of a truth, I would say it's a threat. Your Honor, you are searching for few things, and you have the subject in your hand and leave it to the indefinite. For example, demolition of the Dugel orchards. Why you are going to Ramadan and Barzan? Come to me. Come to me. Hold on a minute. There is no need to go some other people. I I demolished the orchard.
مو جرفتها بمعنى ركبتها
I did not demolish in the sense that I destroyed. That was a RCC resolution to modernize the pieces of orchard which were indicated to be belonging to the convicted. As such, I signed that order. Judge, convicted of what? What do you mean? If the conviction is made against them on the assault.
Seven. He didn't issue any order concerning those measurements taken against the women and children and old men in Laya Desert, being detained in Laya Desert. 8. The voice record for his phone call between him and Tahat Ramadan concerning the jail case, which has been shown in front of this court. 9. The voice records for defendant Saddam, which he's talking to the sheikhs and the sheriffs of Al-Jabur tribal, which he has been clear in it what happened to Al-Sumaicha area. And we said already that Al-Sumaicha is an old name for Dujjal. 10. His responsible as a head of the state for that department, because it's related to him immediately, directly, and whatever the big head of the state responsibilities take under, as in with Article 15 of our statute, it says that this person will be responsible, the person will be responsible for the crimes committed from those who work under him. And as long as he knew about it, or they did it according to his orders, because he was the chief commander of the army forces, and the army forces was participated in such actions like what happened in Dujjal. And those army units cannot move unless it has a direct order from the chief commander of the forces. In addition to that, there is too many documents and letters which has been shown to your courts, proved that all these crimes happened. For example, the transfer of the victims, which has been considered by the defendant as a defendant at that time to the Revolutionary Court, and the number is 785 in 1984, and also the confirm of the execution sentence issued from that court. And from the evidence, from the official evidence, which proved that the defendant knew all these crimes, about these crimes, they booked the letter of the Mukhabarat to the President, number 1565, in September 1984, which includes that there's too many departments in the Ba'ath Party were asking about the victims in the jail case, and they asked information about them, and the RCC, Revolutionary Command Council order in 1982, which include the taking over the orchards and the lands from the Dujjalians. And all this will say that the defendant is responsible criminally for all these crimes has been committed by the work under him, according to the Article 4 from 4 of the statute of this court. Your Honor, Honorable Judge, the crimes against the humanity, and as the Article 12 defined it, it is a wild, systematic, organized attack against any group of civilians, and this defined said that there has to be too many persons participate in such a crime, and he describes such a crime as a crime against humanity. And Article 15C says that the person will be considered responsible according to this law and to the criminal law if he participates or give or support or give help in any way or another to make it easy to commit such a crime, including giving the facilities or providing facilities to the those who commit such a crime. So all those defendants are officially defendants, or as only for Muhammad Azawa Ali, because there was no enough available evidence, we want to dismiss the charge against him according to Article C. As for the defendants, Abdullah Kadhim al-Wayed and Mizhar Abdullah Kadhim and Ali Dayah Ali, we demand they will be criminalized under the Article 1 and C and D, and under the guidance of the Article 15, and to determine their punishment according to the Article 406 under A under 1 and 420 13 from the penal law. And the prosecutor chamber asked the court to minimize the punishment against them because they commit such crimes to carry on the orders issued to them from their superiors, according to the Article 15, the 5th of the statute of this court. And as for Awad Hamad al-Bandar, his actions is supporting the criminal actions of the other defendants in the jail case. It was a murder according to the Article 1C2 from the Article 15 of the statute. So we ask the court to commit him according to the Article 12.1 from the High Iraqi Tribunal Court statute, and to determine his from the penal law, and under the guidance of 420 article of the High HIT Court. And as for the defendants, Saddam Hussein al-Majid and Barzan Ibrahim Security and Taha Yasir Ramadan, so they are responsible for all the crimes has been committed against Dujalians. So we ask you to convict them under the guidance of the Article 4A, C, D, E, and under the guidance of the Article 15 of our statute, of our court statute, and determine their punishment according to the Article 406 and 421 and 413 under the guidance of the Article 24 of our statute. So the prosecutor chamber asked the court to get the maximum punishment against these defendants, who they done a very bad thing, and they didn't mercy any women or children or a tree, and nothing gets rid of their bad actions. And the maximum punishment is the one according to that article we're talking about, which says that the maximum action should be taken against such defendants. At last, the chamber to the investigation judge and tell the judge of this court to what the results of the investigation. Also those who have been running from the jail case, so we have all their names and all the evidence against them, and they are one, Saadun Shakir Mahmoud, the ex-Prime Minister, Waddah Ismail al-Sheikh, a Mukhabarat member. He was investigator in Mukhabarat, and the investigation will going on, and we will take procedures against him if we get him. 3. Hasib Saleh Abdelaziz, Ali Mahmoud Hashim, Muhammad Islam Khadr Abbas, those who were being presented by Saddam because they were runners. Yes, till now, no one take any legal procedures against them. Are they detainees for other cases? No, no, Your Honor. They may be here or outside Iraq. Also, the Mukhabarat officers, investigator officers, those who investigate with Dujalians. They are Hikmat Abdul Wahab Khalil, Kamil Hussein, Nouri Abdullah, Hamid Fahad, Bahi Ahmed, Muhsin Awaid, Faisal Shaheen, Shamil Fayyad, Abjabbar Hamid, and the Colonel Hadi Shukr, the member in the Revolutionary Court, Dawood Shahab, he is also a member in the Revolutionary Court, Taha Hamad, he is a prosecutor in the Revolutionary Court, and accept my thankful and my appreciation.
Judge, with regard to the defense attorneys, you can prepare your statement on July 10th. We're going to give you the chance to speak. Now we are not going to give you a chance to speak. You know more than us the procedures. July 10th, you will have the whole chance to say whatever you want to say. Don't drag us to other issues. And you know what are the procedures. Court is adjourned.